everyone, welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel and a movie review video for Don't Breathe. I just finished watching it not even an hour ago, and for a new horror slash suspense movie, I really liked it. You guys know how I feel about new movies in general. I tend to find them kind of boring, a little more simplistic, very unoriginal. And so I went into this with some very low expectations, and I honestly forgot who was directing it and who was producing it. And when the credits rolled, and I did have described video turned on, and when they said directed and written by Fede Álvarez, who did the reboot of Evil Dead, and produced by Sam Raimi, I was like, oh, that's why I liked it. So, because you all know how I like Sam Raimi's work, and even though the 2013 Evil Dead, I do say that its rewatchability is much lower than the original series, I still enjoyed it for what it was worth. I do appreciate Fede Alvarez's directing style, and I did actually want to watch more movies of his, so I was glad to watch this one. Spoilers ahead, guys, if you haven't watched this movie and you do want to watch this movie and you don't want spoilers, watch this video after you watch this movie because I am going to do some spoilers. This is a full review, but it's been out for about 3 or 4 years now, so I think it's safe to do some spoilers. So my wine and I are here because I really liked this movie and I'm pretty amped up about it. And if I don't review it right now and talk about it, I am not going to be able to go to sleep. So let's get into it here. So, to summarize the movie, it is about three burglars. They're, I would say, late teens, very early 20s. And it seems to be their career criminals. They haven't been caught yet, it seems, though, and they seem to make a living by breaking into homes that are contracted to one of their group's father's security company. So he basically finds, or they get tipped off to a house that is on one of, like, this guy. His name is Alex. The three burglars are Alex, Money, and Rocky. Rocky is the only girl. And Alex's father is the security company guy. So the houses they break into are all contracted to Alex's father's company. So he brings the keys. They use the keys to get into the house. He has the codes, obviously. So they disable the codes. They rifle. They try to stay under 10,000 so they don't get hit with like grand larceny. This guy, the Alex guy, seems to be at least somewhat versed in burglary law. So their aim is to burgle houses for property under 10,000, no cash. And yeah, that's their MO. So we start the movie with a successful house robbery, and they very quickly move along to their next target. We see that Money is kind of the macho asshole guy of the group. Alex is the more soft spoken guy, and Rocky is the chick who goes for the macho asshole. Obviously Alex is the guy that, I love her, but I can't, I'm friend zoned, blah, blah, blah. That trope. Which, we've got to have that in movies, right? We also have Rocky, her motive for stealing is to get enough money to take her sister out of her abusive mother's house. So they're at least trying to set up 2 out of the 3 burglars as some sort of sympathetic characters, right? Their next target is a war veteran. I think they say Iraqi war veteran, probably Desert Storm, from his age. And so they go to stake out the house, and they also find out that he was he basically got a settlement from a woman who ran over and killed his daughter. And this settlement is rather large, shall we say. And they, at least Money and Rocky, really want to go and get this guy's money. And Alex is still, no, we have to stay under $10,000. We have to keep stealing property. We can't do this. This is serious jail time. He even refuses to get the key because this guy is obviously contracted with his father's company, and he at first refuses to help them. So he, after being begged by the girl he really wants to fuck, he changes his mind, of course, because, you follow your dick. And we move along to staking out the house, and we see that this war veteran is blind. He also has a very, very vicious pet Rottweiler that finds them in the car before the old man actually comes into view. The Rottweiler kind of attacks the car, and the old man just kind of shows up and calls him off with a whistle. And Rocky and Alex are kind of like, it's a little fucked up to rob a blind guy, don't you think? And Money, he goes, just because he's blind doesn't mean he's a saint. Foreshadowing. So we quickly move along to the actual break-in. Now, I did like this movie overall. I really enjoyed it, but there were parts where I was yelling at these people. And this was one of them, the break-in scene. Okay. I was very upset with these young people. Because they are incredibly stupid burglars. I don't know how they didn't or haven't been caught yet, because this was like a farcical break-in scene. But they still managed. We've got the attempt at getting into the house by a cellar door that Money riffs on and makes a whole shit ton of noise, because the whole point is they're trying to get in, and Alex has this fancy remote that you can point at the keypad and disarm the code or disarm the alarm. So their whole thing is, we have to get into the house to point the alarm remote at the alarm pad. Okay. And we can't get into the house with the key because there's more than one lock. And the guy is so paranoid that he only provided one key to the security company and not all of the keys for all of the locks. So I don't know why. But so we've got that plot device. Like I said, it's I liked the movie, but some of the things didn't make sense. So we have Money yanking and riffing on the door. We have just a whole bunch of things going on. And now we have Rocky saying, I know, here's a window. And all the windows are barred, by the way. All the windows are barred, except for one tiny window up high. And Rocky says, I'll go through that window. And I'm going to myself, okay, you're going to have to break it. And so that's going to make noise. And yeah, okay, so that happens. She breaks the window. Somehow the blind guy isn't woken up by the broken window or the window breaking. That I don't know how a war vet isn't woken up instantly by a shattering glass, but okay. And so she gets through and she gets into a bathroom, and she is walking down a hall with a piece of glass wedged in her shoe that is going crunch, crunch, crunch. So she's smart enough to get that out of her shoe. She gets, and meanwhile, the alarm is now going off, like, because the window's been broken. So she now has to find the remote or the master pad before the countdown is over, right? So she's wandering through this house at a semi-brisk pace, trying not to fucking bump into shit, and find this beeping pad that's rapidly beeping faster before it goes off. So she luckily does this, okay? Meanwhile, outside, Alex and Money are starting to argue over pussy because Rocky's not there, and Money knows that Alex wants Rocky, so that happens. And Rocky comes and lets them into the house, and I did forget to mention that Money has drugged the Rottweiler with a piece of meat that has sleeping pills in it. So the Rottweiler has been subdued for the time being, and they are now creeping through the house, attempting to find this guy's money. Speaking of Money, the character named Money goes upstairs and finds the old man in his bedroom, and he has fallen asleep listening to a home video of his young daughter, which is really sad because as we saw in the beginning of the movie, he won the settlement because his daughter was killed. And from the home video, it appears that she was fairly young, as in like elementary school child young when she died. So this is very sad that and so Money has this gas, like this, like you pour this stuff into water and it becomes gas, knockout gas, I guess. So he and at one point the old man sits up in bed and turns off the TV and goes back to sleep. So like that scares the shit out of Money. And so Money, punctures this water bottle that he's dumped the vial of knockout stuff into, and he leaves, and they go back to looking for the cash. Well, the gas doesn't seem to have worked because not 5 minutes later, old man is up and about because Money decides because they've found a padlocked closet in the living room, and Money, in his infinite wisdom, instead of trying to pick the lock first, again, I think you can imagine this was a scene where I was yelling at the characters. Instead of trying to pick the padlock first, Money first goes to a crowbar and then shooting at the lock. Because when you're in somebody's house and the person is there, you want to make as much noise as possible while you're trying to look for their valuables. even if you've fucking knockout gassed them, okay? That is retarded. What the fuck are you doing? So he shoots this walk, and the metal falls and everything. The padlock falls off. The hasp falls off. And this, of course, surprisingly, arouses the old man's attention, and he comes and figures out that at least there is at least one person in the house, and he and this guy, it was, I was cheering him on at this point, right? I'm like, go blind man, go, right? I'm sitting in my computer, I'm like, yes, blind man. And him and Money get into it, and we have him ending up making Money basically shoot himself in the, like, he basically re-aims the gun so that Money shoots himself in the frick, like right here, right in the jaw. So Money's dead. Rocky's hiding in the closet, and Alex by this point has said, fuck both of you, I'm gone. And he has left. And I did forget to mention a very important point here. When they get into the house, they all take their shoes off. So Alex has put his shoes back on and left, except he has just heard gunshots. And because he wants to fuck Rocky, he's going to go back and investigate. But he's not going to take his shoes off, which is stupid. And also, Money, before he died, swore up and down that it was just him in the house, just him. So the old man is trying to, deal with this guy's body in his house and, drag it to his utility room. And he at first he wants to make sure that his money is safe. So he goes into the closet where Rocky is hiding. And he opens the safe, checks makes sure his money is still there, and closes the safe. And Rocky sees the combination. And at this point, I'm like, really? You're still gonna try to fucking steal his cash? He literally just he just got your friend and choked him out first with a gun. He choked him out and had him pointing the gun at himself, and then killed him. And you're still like, I'm gonna try and steal this dude's money. You know what? Fuck you. Right? That's what I'm saying at this point. And so she's freaking out because this guy is showing just how violent he is. He literally beats his wall to plaster powder in rage. And Alex is now back, hiding, like basically playing cat and mouse, hide and seek with this dude, hoping to God the blind man doesn't notice that he's back in the house. And he's now hiding under the sink in the bathroom where the window that they've broken to enter the house is. And he's watching the blind man hammer a board over the broken window. He has seen the blind man padlock the broken, like the door with the broken lock that they were entered through. Like, they're basically locked in the house. And I'm getting like freaked out while I'm talking about this. This is how fucked up this movie is. So we've now got Rocky and Alex locked up in this house with this blind man who is incredibly pissed off. But he thinks that he's only had one guy to deal with, and he thinks he's dead. Well, he is dead. And now we've got we've got Alex and Rocky. They meet up in the closet. Rocky steals all of the money, like, and it's like over $1 million in cash that he's got in a safe in his house. I guess he doesn't want it in a bank. And so she puts it in her backpack, and they're like, okay, let's try and leave. Right. Well, that doesn't seem to work, because it now becomes a cat and mouse game. They sneak. And at this point, I do end up yelling at the blind man, because he walks. There's one point where he walks around Rocky, and I'm like, okay, how do you not hear your footsteps bounce off an object that shouldn't be there in your house and not go, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how the fuck does that work? But anyway, so we've got they end up running into the basement after, like, he discovers that they're there, and they've got a huge, big chase around the house. He's got Money's gun now, and he's firing when he hears them. They make it into the basement because they remember seeing a storm door that they thought that they're like, we can get out through the cellar storm door. Now they are using their phone flashlights, and they are running through the basement, and they've stumbled across this, like, gated area, and all of a sudden a chained up woman pops up, and when she pops up, simultaneously, like, she's restrained, like I said, she's chained up, she's in a harness restraint and everything, she's gagged and all that shit, right? When she pops up in the basement, upstairs, bells ring. So her, like, whenever she moves, bells move upstairs. So now he knows that they're in the basement. Okay. And so there's this woman that's tied up in this blind dude's basement. And she has a newspaper article and a picture of her and her name, Cindy Roberts, the woman who hit and killed his daughter. But the article says she was found innocent. So what happened was, she was a rich, like her family settled with him. She was a rich girl. She got acquitted, I guess, but the family, like, civilly, she was still liable, but somehow criminally, she got off. And I guess this guy just snapped. Like, I would imagine he already had PTSD from Desert Storm, and he just, when she was acquitted criminally, I guess he just lost it. And so now he's got her in the basement. And so Alex and Rocky find there's another safe in the basement, and the combo is the same. And there are a big set of keys there. And they find the key to unlock Cindy, and they try to help her out. And they're trying to find the basement door, which they do. But then blind guy opens basement door and shoots at what he thinks are Alex and Rocky. But he shoots Cindy. And he is very upset about this. Like, he is broken. Like, he is weeping. When he discovers that it's her, which he does by feeling the restraint on her back, which they weren't able, like they were able to uncuff her, but they weren't able to get the harness off. And he just goes to pieces like he's lost his wife or something. And I'm like, what the fuck, right? Why are you so upset at the woman that killed your daughter is dead? And then we have a cat and mouse through the basement between Alex and Rocky and the blind man, in which the blind man catches Alex and they get in a struggle. Alex manages to push a giant shelf of things over onto the old man, and they get upstairs. They are greeted by the dog, who is awake now and has been let back in. And he's not very happy that there are two strange people in his house. And they get chased upstairs, and old man comes like bursting out of the basement. Rottweiler chases them upstairs. Rocky and Alex barricade themselves in a bedroom, but the windows are barred, so they can't get out. And so what happens is Alex tells Rocky to go through the air vents, and he stays behind as like a distraction. And old man, they have a big armoire blocking the bedroom door, and old man manages to shove the door open, knocks the armoire into Alex. Alex gets knocked through the barred window out onto a skylight that is over the kitchen. Now, he's knocked. I'm like, okay, now I thought he was dead, but apparently he was just knocked out. And this is another part where I'm like, okay, this is kind of impossible. Well, the knocked out part wasn't impossible, but what happens next is impossible. So we switch now to Rocky crawling through the vents, and we kind of go back and forth between Rocky crawling through the vents. Rottweiler figures out she's in the vent, and he goes in the vent, and Rocky ends up falling head first down a like a vertical section, and she gets stuck. Blind guy figures out that Alex is on the skylight because he's in the kitchen and he can hear the skylight is obviously cracking because an adult person has fallen from a second-story window onto it. So it's spider webbing to shit. So he can hear that, he can hear it. So he goes around back upstairs, shoots the skylight with the gun, and Alex and he's awake by this point, and the glass shatters and he falls into the kitchen. He should be dead now, yes? Well, guess what, folks? He's not dead. He's not quite dead. He doesn't want to go on the cot. He feels happy. Okay, not quite happy. But somehow this fall doesn't knock him out. Okay, he's fallen once and that knocked him out. This fall didn't knock him out somehow. The second fall, he manages to get into the utility room, and we have a big tussle with big fight between him and the old man, which Alex shouldn't have even been able to have, but apparently he was Superman that night and was able to go blow to blow with the old man for at least a couple of minutes. And then it appears that he is stabbed with hedge trimmers, which, very Fede Álvarez. Very, very Fede Álvarez. This movie is not short on the sound effects, on the it wasn't quite Hostel, and it wasn't quite Evil Dead 2013, but it was definitely brutal. And we then get to Rocky, who wakes up in the air shaft where she has fallen, as I said, head first. So her neck be broken, y'all. But she still manages to seal crawl somehow through the air vent and finds an outside vent that she can't open. And then she goes to a inside vent, which then she starts kicking, which I don't know why you would do that, because old man is still in the fucking house. But okay. So she kicks out the vent and old man grabs her, which duh. And we go back to the basement. And we now have Rocky in a restraints. And this is where it gets really weird. We have, she's trying to talk to him. She's saying, I understand you. You hurt Cindy because she killed your daughter. And he's like, you don't understand anything. You've never been a parent, and he reveals to her that he had Cindy held captive because she took his daughter from her. So he wanted her to give him a new baby. So she was apparently pregnant. And his thing was, I was going to let her go after she gave birth. And if you hadn't broken into my house, she wouldn't be dead. So now you're going to give me a baby. And he's got a freezer full of his spunk and a turkey baster. And she is in a restraint like Cindy was, and he's got her in like this pulley thing. Like almost like you'd have for a fucking breeding cow or a breeding mare, right? And so he's about to freaking turkey baster her, and upstairs we see Alex, or first, no, we see Money with the hedge trimmers in him. Money's corpse. Now, Money's corpse never got removed from the house. He got left in the utility room. So Alex, in the fight, even though he got knocked out, he somehow managed. I guess the blind guy accidentally stabbed. Because when Alex was hiding, he accidentally dislodged Money's corpse from where Blind Man had shoved it. So Blind Man stabbed Money instead of Alex. So even though Alex has fallen twice from significant heights and then been beaten within an inch of his life, he then somehow still gets up and picks up a hammer and goes blind man hunting. And he manages to show up just in time to knock out and remove, or he knocks out Blind Man, uncuffs Rocky, cuffs Blind Man. Rocky goes a little bit cuckoo bananas, which I don't blame her for. She kind of kicks the shit out of him, beats the shit out of him, and then shoves the filled turkey baster down his throat. And Yeah. It's kind of, like I said, it's a pretty brutal movie. And so they try to make their escape, and just as they get the front door open, Alex gets shot from behind, and we see Blind Man, because Blind Man was gonna, like, he's like, take the money, you have what you came for, get out of my house, right? When he was cuffed up. Sorry, guys, tickle in my throat. So when he comes to shoot and he shoots Alex, he's still got the cuffs on. He just hulked himself out of there. He just like yanked the fucking rope, cuffs and all. He just kind of like hulked himself out of the basement, came up and shot shot Alex in the back. Now Alex is dead. Like, he's dead. He got 2 shots in the back. He's dead. And freaking Rocky runs outside. Rottweiler's chasing her. She gets into Money's car, but Money has the keys, and he's in the house, and he's dead. So she's fucked. She can't drive anywhere. And so we've got, she manages to get the Rottweiler trapped in the trunk. It's like she uses a luggage strap as like a pulley system. She traps the dog in the trunk and then uses the luggage strap to like secure him. And she's got the backpack full of cash still. Okay, guys. She has not relinquished she's lost both her boyfriend and her best friend. Okay. She's been beaten. She almost got impregnated with old man Spunk, and she still has the money. Okay, apparently it's worth all of that to her. And so she goes to get outside and get the backpack, and old man grabs her and drags her back into the house. And he's mad, so he's punching her, and he just kind of throws her on the floor. And the whole there's a thing about her and ladybugs, where her mother locked her in the trunk of a car when she was little because she used to cry a lot, because she missed her real father. And a ladybug flew in one day and kept her company. And she just then sees a ladybug in the house, or right on her thumb. And then she sees the alarm remote in Alex's jacket. And just as Blind Guy's about to shoot her, she presses the panic button. And because the master panel is right there, the panic button sets off the alarm. And this, of course, disorients the blind guy because it's loud and it disorients you. She manages to go for the crowbar, and she beats the shit out of him and ends up knocking him down the basement. And the gun, as she's beating him, the gun, like, he's like shooting the gun randomly. And when he falls down the basement, he ends up shooting himself in the side. And she gets away with the fucking money. Because apparently that $1 million in 2016 or whatever this movie was shot in is going to go so far that she needs to lose her boyfriend, her best friend, get the shit kicked out of her, just go through absolute hell. That $1 million in cash, man. It is. Living with her mother must be, living with her mother and must be just so bad that she is willing to take all of this punishment just to get her and her sister out of there to California, because that's where she wants to go. So the movie ends with her and her sister at the airport, I think, and they are departing for California, but we see on the news that the blind man survives, and they say that all they see is that the two burglars that were, he killed the two, he defended himself and killed the two burglars, meaning Money and Alex, on the spot. He had some injuries, but police say he'll be able to return to his home, and no goods were stolen as reported by the victim, which means he knows she's gone. He knows she has his million, and he didn't say a damn thing. Now, there's a Don't Breathe too. And I usually don't even give a fuck about sequels, right? Sequels to me are garbage. But I'm actually very interested in Don't Breathe too. Because this is a movie that actually kind of leaves you open for what's going to happen next. And there are some movies where there's no need for a sequel, right? There's no, when it's over, it's over. And then there's a sequel, and you're like, but why? The story was told, right? This story is not over. And when this movie's over, the story's not over. Even if, like, I knew before I watched this movie that there was a Don't Breathe 2, right? But even if I didn't, I would be like, okay, what happens next? Because the story's not done. And I actually do want to watch Don't Breathe 2. And like I said, there were some things in this movie that I'm like, okay, that's not possible. But, like, overall, I was able to suspend my disbelief, and it was a good movie. It was none of the character, like, I really enjoy movies where there are no clear-cut good and bad guys, right? I like the gray area characters, and none of the characters in this movie were clearly good or clearly bad, right? The blind man was probably a good guy at one point, right? But the fact that he served in Desert Storm, he probably got severe PTSD. His wife probably left him because she couldn't handle it. His daughter was killed. The person who did it was acquitted but civilly liable. Money can't bring that, your daughter back. And the burglars, right? Like, Money was a dick, and I was glad when he died. But Alex and Rocky, like, they have depth to them, and there's no good reason to go and rob anybody. But there was an excuse, right? Like, there was at least some sympathy there. You could have some empathy for them. And there was, like, they were clearly not good people. They were clearly messed up, clearly on the wrong path, but they weren't all bad. And I like movies like that. And I really, really, really recommend this movie. And I do want to watch Don't Breathe 2. And I will be reviewing Don't Breathe 2. And I really hope you like these reviews, because I plan on doing more of them. So thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and look for more reviews. Have a fantastic day.